Hey there, we're back. This is Joe Cox Jr., making your life more simple, getting you through this narcissistic world. So, a couple things I want to reach out before we get into our topic today. Number one is I bought this little heater here, and I'm going through the first burn. So I'm doing it outside in order to burn off all the chemicals from the paint and all. They say do it for about 8 hours before you install it. So that's a little mini um, wood stove. So y'all like that? And then of course I got a fire going, still doing some burn offs here. But one thing I want to reach out and talk about real fast is somebody said, and I really appreciate, because when you guys give me feedback, I know how to help you guys. I know how to approach things. So if there's something that I'm not approaching it, or I'm not telling you, and I'm not clear on something, if you reach out in a comment, I'll be glad to do another video or do something to where I can text you back. And the whole goal of this channel is to help you out, help you to get direction. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I've just been through hell and back, and I want to be able to help you guys, prevent you guys going through, because there's certain things that if I had known at 16 years old, my life would have been so much more simple. And what I try to do is make sure I give that to you in simple steps. That's why the book Life Made Simple. But somebody reached out and said something about they didn't want to read another narcissistic book when I had mentioned something about my book. But what I realized is that I hadn't really told you that book is not about narcissism. That book is about finding your balance. So let me give you a 30-second rundown of the book. The book breaks down the very essence of what we need of mind, body, and spirit, and to create wholeness, and where all of the richness comes from in our life and that sort of thing. And it goes through forgiveness and all these. And I fought for many years considering taking my life. And the book talks about that as well, is what is it that we're really seeking? And that is relief. So everybody that reads it loves it, and it's really not about narcissism in itself. You've got plenty of doctors on here telling you all about narcissism. That book is about finding your wholeness, finding you, and going through the narcissism. You don't. Most people, I didn't have a clue. 20s, 30s, 40s, what was I missing? And I couldn't figure it out. So that's what I went back and I'm like, I'm going to pin it all down. I'm doing this channel, which is focused on narcissism. I'm just started another channel that just talks about life advice. That book is good for both channels. Whatever you're going through, that book is the foundation. That book, to me, I wanted to write it to where it's not religious, it's spiritual based, dealing with humanity as a whole. For instance, kindness. Doesn't matter what church you're in. Kindness is a basis of humanity. And we talk about that. That's why I talk about it a lot on this channel. These are the foundations of how to approach kindness. You don't want to feel taken advantage of. Kindness is not a weakness, it's a strength. Narcissists make you think it's a weakness, though, the way they approach it. So hopefully I'll pick up a copy. That's why I put a guarantee behind it, 90 days. Read it. If you don't like it, send it back to me. Or send it to, it comes from the Amazon, but send it to me directly and I'll buy the book back from you. But all the information's in front of the book. So anyway, and that's on the paperback copy. I couldn't figure out how to do it with the Kindle, so I didn't do anything with a guarantee on that. But anyway, but what we're going to talk about today is, how do you look at yourself? This is something that I really struggled with through my life. When I was 16, 17, I would mess up. I'd say, Joe, you're so stupid, you're dumb, you're never going to get this. And I start blaming myself, feeling guilty, feeling shame of even being born. I went through so many toxic things, and that's what kind of set me down. My whole life has been a roller coaster. But what set me down each time was not knowing how to deal with the situation. And what happens is, and keep in mind, our mind is to help us grow. Our mind should never, ever turn on us. And that's what happens with mental, emotional sickness. Your mind is actually turning against you. It's my opinion that it's because of the spiritual imbalance. You heal the spiritual imbalance, you'll typically heal the mind and body, because that's where all the toxic emotions, trapped emotions, those things are. And that's what we're trying to lead you back to, is understanding. And that's what the book is about. So what we're going to talk about today is you should never, ever, ever feel guilty, feel shame, feel anything that tears you down. No negative feelings. So let me make sure I clarify this. Shame, all these emotions, shame, guilt, anger, all these emotions are there to guide us. What happens is, and I did it too, I lived in those emotions. That, I believe, is one of the biggest things that happens with people that have dealt with narcissism, is they live in toxic emotions. And that's where you get your trapped emotions. That's why it's so hard to climb out of the situation. Because if you're sitting there trying to heal, and then if you talk negative to yourself, you just backed up from even making any progress. What you need to do, and what I had to learn to do, is start giving myself self-love, even if I didn't feel like I deserved it. Because you do deserve it. You were born in perfect love. It's this light that has chipped away at your spirit and your soul, and all this social media and all this other stuff has led you believe that you're less than. That's all ego stuff. You live from the heart and just live in peace. That's part of getting to happiness. And my book talks about that too. People don't understand what happiness is, and I break it down and show you. I live in a state of happiness. Is my life exactly the way I want it? No. Do I have everything in my life now, all the tools to get there? Yes. And so I'm working back. I'm rebuilding my life from 50 years of damage. There's a lot of people that have a hard time starting over in their 50s. I started all over at 50, 51 years old with me and my wife. I'll be 60 my next birthday. I have some bad days sometimes. I tend to want to go back and say, how could you have lost that? How did you get so weak? How did you do this? And then I have to regroup and say, Joe, you're an amazing human being to even make it through that. A lot of people wouldn't have made it. You beat the odds. That's what you need to do for you. No matter what, you're here, you're seeking to be, the fact that you're on this channel, you're seeking better. You're seeking more. You're seeking your greatness. You're seeking healing. If you were just living your life and just saying whatever and talking bad to yourself every day, what happens is we've gotten such bad habits from being around narcissistic people, our mind turns on itself. Even if you don't consciously believe it, you've got that subconscious. This is where I talk about the trapped emotions in the book. Those trapped emotions are in there from all that toxicity. The more you get those out, and there's different methods. I tell you about how I went about it in the book, and there's different methods of doing it. You can go through therapists, you can go through energy healing. So there is different avenues on that. And I'll talk more about on a separate video how I went through my trapped emotion healing. I do talk about it in the book, but I'll go into more detail on another video. I could just keep talking for 5 hours about all the different things of healing, steps of healing. So if there's anything in particular that you want to know that you're working on, you're struggling with, about the process that I went through to get that same healing, let me know. I'll be glad to respond and help guide you. But the book, I can't stress it enough, and that's why I've got a guarantee behind it, because it gives you the foundation that you're missing. You can go out here and find out all this other stuff, but if you don't have your foundation, that book shows you how to find wholeness. Wholeness is your foundation, mind, body, and spirit. Okay? You've got to get those in harmony. Then the world starts opening up, all the richness, the joy, the happiness, love. I think, and the biggest reason I wrote the book is a lot of people don't even know where to start. This book shows you where to start, shows you the foundation, the basic principles. I never even got this in church. I've never gotten this information in another book. It's a total different approach. I wanted to write something that was simple and different, and that's what that book is. So let's go back to what our main topic is: the blame, the self-blame, the self-negative talk, the holding anything negative towards yourself. Literally, and what I had to do in order to overcome this, and it's a lifetime thing. It's, again, happiness and healing is there's no such thing as a final destination. As long as you're here on earth, you're going to be dealing with stuff because you got all these energies all around us. The whole idea is being able to know how to manage, knowing who to let in your life, who not to let in your life, what situations get to you, which ones just to let the situation go and not worry about it. Remember, we have control of everything in here within ourselves. We don't have any control of anything out here. But when we get this balance, everything out here is a reflection. That's why some people, it looks like everything good happens to them. It's because they have learned how to play the game of life. They have followed the rules to life and life laws. I talk about that in the book. It would take me so many videos. That's why I'm going to go through that book on these videos, but it's going to take a year to go through it, whereas that book is only 184 pages. But I wanted to stress, it's not a narcissism book. It's not about narcissists. You get that plenty of that on all the other channels. The book is based on spiritual balance. You're a spiritual being having a physical experience. So once you understand, it's like going back. If you were you're born, have you ever seen a depressed baby? Babies have low energy that was brought up in a toxic background, but the day they were born, they're full of energy if you just nurture that energy and give them love. And if you don't give a baby love, then there is test and there was a hospital or something years ago that they just put these babies to the side, and the mortality rate was really big. Then they started getting people coming in and holding these orphan babies, and they started healing or growing and prospering very well because they had somebody to hold. We need this as human beings. And if you want to be single your whole life, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand, I was single for 20 years, and at the time, I didn't have a problem with that. I was fine being single. And I would have been single my whole life if that's what it was. But my wife gave me something I never could get from anybody else. And that's the connection. That's connection to somebody else on such a deep level. Now, I'm chasing the squirrel now. Let's go back on topic. I just want, I have poured so much into that book, almost a year full time. I cut it down. It was almost like 400 pages. I cut it down to 184. I simplified it. I wanted it to be like one of the 2 or 3 books. If you're going to have 2 or 3 books, it needs to be one of them. That's how much I feel about it. And that's why I offered the guarantee. But anyway, so let's talk about self-care now. Self-care, your mind should never turn on itself. You should always put yourself first. A lot of people have shame and guilt about this. It's embedded in you because if you've been around narcissistic parents or a narcissistic partner for a number of years, you're made to feel guilty about taking care of yourself and having self-love. You are made to feel you're less than. You're unworthy, worthless. Shame, guilt. I mean, all that only develops into anger. What you do is when nobody can fix you, okay? And you're not broken, you're just out of balance. Balance of mind, body, and spirit. When you realize that you're an amazing human being, you were born the perfect you, and your goal and your purpose in life is to become the best you, period. So everything that's happened in the past, what's your lesson? Learn your lesson, make adjustments in your life, and go forward. Then you'll start prospering in everything you do, because now you've got a better belief system. Your belief system was designed during your childhood. Majority of all people, I would say 80 to 90% of all people, still operate at the belief system they were raised in. In order to change your belief system, you've got to go back and start questioning every single thing in your life. When you go, and this takes a lot of self-awareness. So when you do something, ask yourself, is that something that's in harmony with who I am? Is that the authentic me? Is this what is in my most beneficial interest? See, we've been made to feel guilty and shameful about focusing on ourselves. Your job is to take care of you. You can't take care of anybody else, or you can't give anybody else what you don't have for yourself. How are you going to love somebody else if you don't love yourself? I used to think that was weird. Self-love? Is that something? I remember the first time I heard about it. Self-care? Wasn't self-care selfish? No. Self-care, there is absolutely nothing wrong with self-care. Put yourself first always. The only time it becomes selfish is when you take away from someone else in order to gain. Let me say it again. Self-care, there's never anything wrong with it as long as you're not taking from another. You can't take care of yourself too much, in other words. Now, if you're forgetting your kids and you took your kids' lunch money to go do something for yourself, that's not self-care, that's selfish. Every decision is a trade-off in life, and every decision is from your belief system. This is what I'm talking about, the foundation of who you are. This is what the book talks about, your belief system. You got to figure out, what is your belief system and why do you believe it? If you don't know why you believe something, it's not your belief system. It's not your belief. So if you go and make a decision to do something, are you doing it because you think it's best, or are you doing it because that's what your narcissistic mother wants you to do? See the difference? I do it for myself. I've been made to make feel like that's selfish, so I'll do what my mother wants me to do. But we're not supposed to live our life for somebody else, because that's guaranteed. You'll never find happiness. You'll never live in a state of happiness. You'll never have harmony. You're not even living your own life. The goal is to live your own life, the life you were meant to live. Most of these people telling you how to live your life don't even know how to live their own life. I want you to thrive in everything you do. So for today, the belief system is key. So your first belief in your belief system is to believe in yourself. Put that get a piece of paper, write it all down. What do you believe in? What do you believe in about making decisions? How much do your parents or the narcissistic person in your life or the past, how did that affect it, and what are you doing differently? You will never have more in life than what you're willing to tolerate. Think about that for a minute. if I deserve bad things, then I'm never going to have anything more than that. If I feel shameful, I'm never going to have more than that. Again, I'm going to repeat this. Your mind should never turn on itself. If you find that happening, immediately go back and say, no, I do not accept that. I purge that from my mind. I have self-love. Look in the mirror and say, man, you're a great person, full of love and peace. Somebody's going to be lucky to have you one day. Now, when a narcissist says that, that's totally different energy. That's confidence, and that's self-love, that's self-care. What I've noticed, it's about the intent. So you say something, and the narcissist will say something, but the intent behind it is totally different. 180 degrees, totally opposite. Their intent's coming from their mind and their ego. Your intent's coming from your heart. I hope I'm not talking too fast. I try, being in the South, sometimes I talk too fast, and my wife says, slow down. So let me know in the comments. If there's anything I can bring to you that's more clear, that I'm trying to make sure. We've ordered the new mic. It should be in any day. Hopefully, I'm making sure I don't hit my mic. I'm trying to do a good job. I'm new to this, so I'm trying to make sure I give you what you need. These are for you guys. These videos are for you. I just want to let you know how much love I have for you guys. I believe in you. You're amazing. Look at yourself in the mirror every day. I make sure every day that not only do I make sure I have self-love, I make sure my wife knows it, that she's adored. I make sure I tell her I love her, but more than anything, I show her that I love her by the way I treat her, by the respect, by the nurturing, by the kindness. In a narcissistic family, you'll know what I mean by that, because some of you, and I'd like to hear how many of you have this, a parent would say, I love you, and then sit there and betray you, or do something underhanded to take back anything good they just said. My mother did that to me when I was real young, 8, 9, 10 years old, and it just messed with my mind, because she never showed me that she loved me. I didn't even understand. That's why I didn't even understand what love was, and I think it's why it took so long. And when I met Jonna Sue, at 15 years old, I didn't know what that feeling was. I sure didn't want my life to turn out like my parents. Irresponsible, negative, getting free lunches at school, wearing secondhand clothes, not validating me, not giving me the nurturing that I needed to grow as a strong human being. I've wasted so much time in my life with depression. Depression has wreaked havoc on me. I'm not where I wanted to be financially at this time in my life. But then again, a few years back, I didn't even think I would live to be this old. I was so depressed, it was not even a concern. It was just trying to function. Somebody honked the horn. Yeah, don't remember the last time I heard a horn beep down here. But hopefully this helps you out. If there's any questions, or I wasn't specific enough on this, leave them in the comment. I need to go check on my wood there on the heater, make sure it's still rocking and rolling. Trying to get, like I said, burn all the paint off of it because it's brand new. But anyway, I wish you nothing but blessings, and from my heart to yours, you're an amazing human being. You were born the perfect you, and it's your job to become the best you. And I believe this channel will give you the information that you need to thrive in life. I wish you nothing but blessings. Bye-bye.